Hi, I'm Kelly from Jewellery. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this huge pendant. You can make it with a smaller stone if you want to, but I chose a larger one so we've got the room for all the wire detail on the front there. I've put a list in the description below, of everything you'll need to make this, along with all the usual links. We've got Etsy, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and there's my Etsy shop where I sell all my written tutorials if anyone's interested in those. A written tutorial is just a bunch of pictures that you can follow along at your own pace, and it's got all the descriptions on there and everything. To make this pendant you'll need 0.8mm wire, that's 20 gauge, and I've cut 4 lengths at 13 inches, that's 33 centimetres. I'm using silver today and I'm using round wire. You can use square wire if you want to, it's up to you. Weaving wire, 0.3mm weaving wire, 28 gauge. You'll need about 250 centimetres, I'd say. I've wound mine onto a bobbin. This is a Bobeeze bobbin by Beadsmith. If you don't have one of these, don't worry, you can just cut lengths as you go. It just stops the wire from flailing about while you're working with the longer lengths. So we're going to be using quite a large teardrop today. Mine is 45mm by 30. So that's just a flat back cabochon teardrop, quite a large one, for all the extra wire detail that we're going to put on the front. And we've got some small beads. I've got a 3mm, a 2.5mm and a 2mm bead there. So tools today, we've got pliers, round nose pliers, wire cutters. There is a list in the description below of exactly what these tools are. I think these are tweezer nose. And I've got the shorter of the round nose ones that Tronex do. But yeah, mine are all Tronex. You do pay a little bit extra if you go for the higher quality tools, but they last longer, so you're not buying loads of tools all the time. So cut your wires to the lengths that I have and take your 4 wires. Find the centre point and position your thumb there. And we're going to start working just to the left of your thumb. So we're going to start with 4 wraps around the bottom wire. I just sorted my wires out and they've all moved again. So we're going to start with 3 wraps around the bottom wire. And this weave is just to hold all the wires together. So we'll go around the bottom 2, come up between those 2, go around the middle 2, and then come up between those 2. Go over the top, so you're going around the top 2. Come up between the bottom 2. Over the 3rd, so you're going around the middle 2. And then go around the bottom 2 wires. Then we come up between the bottom 2, going around the middle 2, around the top 2, around the middle 2, and around the bottom 2, so you can see the repeat. So you next go around the middle 2 wires, and we'll repeat that a few more times. So I've done 8 repeats of that weave, and I'll finish with 3 wraps around that bottom wire. Make sure your weave's all pressed together to keep it nice and tidy, and we'll cut the wire at both ends. And always flatten down any sharp ends. You don't want it snagging on anything. So when you're happy with that, So we're now going to grip the weave with the pliers. So you want to grip it, because we're going to bend it next to the pliers, so you don't want to grip it in the centre, you want to grip it to the right of the centre. So we're gripping the right side of the weave. And we're going to bend it. Now we need to bend it to be the angle of the bottom of the stone. So put a bend in it and then have a look at your stone and see if you can match up that angle to the bottom of the stone there. My stone has got quite a point to it, so I've had to open the wires a little just so I can get the point in there, and I shall bend the wires around the stone in a minute. We're going to add a bit more weave in first. So we're going to do this same weave again on both sides, but we're going to leave a gap. The size of the gap depends on the size of your stone. So if you position your stone, this weave is going to be on this middle part of the stone here. So it needs to be I want it to finish here. So the weave's going to be here. So it's like after the halfway mark. We're going to start about the halfway mark. And we're going to do a bit of weave, so about here. It really does depend on the size of your stone, but you can put this weave on there and then you can slide it along a bit into place. So we could just add the weave and then we'll look at that later. Just don't weave too tight, we won't be able to move the weave. So it's the same weave as before. Got the 3 wraps on the bottom, so we're going to put 3 wraps on the bottom. Wire. And it's the same weave, so we go around the bottom 2, up between, around the middle 2, up between. I wanted to do this quick and my wires keep moving. Around the top 2, and then we go around the middle 2, and then around the bottom 2, and we'll repeat that a few more times. So the next step is we wrap around the middle 2. So I've done 6 repeats of that weave, and I'll finish with 3 wraps around the bottom wire. I pull on the wires a little bit first so that they're nice and tight. Cut the wire at both ends. And we'll put that in place in a moment. It does slide along the wires. So we need to do that on this side as well. So turn it over. So now we've got our 3 wraps on the top. So we're going to do that. We're going to start with 3 wraps on the top. So same weave as before, but we're going to start with wraps around the top wire. So it's a bit fiddly to catch it because my silver wire is quite tough. So we've got 3 wraps around the top wire. I've said that about 10 times now. Come up between the middle 2. We wrap around the top 2 wires. Come up between the bottom 2. We wrap around the middle 2 wires. Under the bottom, wrap around the bottom 2, come up between the 2, and we wrap around the middle 2, come up between the 2, wrap around the top 2, and we keep repeating that. So your next step is you wrap around the middle 2, and we'll do the same amount of repeats as we did for the other side. So 6 repeats of that weave. Finish with 3 wraps around the top wire. Cut both ends of the weaving wire and flatten down any sharp bits. So now you've got, if you put the wire with 3 wraps to the back, you've got your bottom weave there. And then the side weaves, all the weaves are all facing up. Grab your stone and move to a flat surface. And we're going to hold the stone there. And we're going to wrap the wires around the stone. You can see my one weave is higher than the other one already. So I think I'm going to slide this one up instead of bringing that one down. It's hard to move it just a little bit. Very slippy slidey. I suppose it's because I'm working on this glass top as well, doesn't help. So you need the wires to cross over at the top, and they go around the stone, but we want a nice large gap at the top there as part of the design so we can add our wire detail. To get it all in place, so you got that nice gap at the top. Your weaves are roughly in the right place, but we can adjust that in a minute. Push on your stone so it's definitely at the bottom there. And then where your wires come up at the top there, we're going to bend them up in a straight line. So this is roughly what you should have. My silver keeps springing open. If you're using copper, it'll be much easier. So your weaves are pretty central and your wires all come together at the top there. So we'll attach now where your wires come together at the top. So starting on this side, take your weaving wire and we'll wrap 3 times around the bottom wire. Slide it down to be just below where your wires join here. And try and make them join so they're not crossing over each other, they're just next to each other. And then take your wire around the whole thing about 5 times. And then you want to select a back wire and we're going to wrap 3 times around the back wire. And we'll cut this little tail end off, but we'll keep this other one attached because we're going to use that in a moment. Flatten off any sharp bits. So reposition your stone and make sure the shape still fits. And then we're going to turn to the back. And I feel like I've got the smoothest, slipperiest stone in the world, and it just won't stay there. It just keeps sliding out. So this is going to be really fiddly. Hopefully you're having better luck than me. We're just going to grab this back wire, just the one, and we're going to pull it over the stone on both sides with pliers. So grab the wire at the bottom where it joins, where it just meets the weave, and we're going to bend that wire in. And I'll put my thumb there to stop it moving too much, so it's just bent the bottom of the wire. And we'll do the same for this side too. So grab the wire next to the weave. I'm going to bend it over the stone so it comes in. Then at the top of the weave we're going to do the same thing again, but you're going to really hold the top wires so they don't move too much. So grab that back wire, holding it with the thumb as well. We're going to bend it in and then grip it there and bend it back. So we've got the bottom of the wire comes out, the rest of the wire goes back. So we've kind of got a kink at the top there, and we've got to do it on this side as well. It's so hard to hold this stone, it just doesn't want to be wrapped. Slippery. All my hand cream doesn't help as well. So grab that wire, twist it in, holding it here so it doesn't escape, and then there, twist it back. So we've got a nice little V, holding the stone there. We're going to do the same on the other side. So you can take the back as your practice one, I suppose. Grab those front wires and we're just going to twist them in at the bottom and on this side. So we did a bit more delicately on the front so it looks nice and tidy. And then you need to make sure that your weaves are sort of at the right height. I suppose we've already bent the back, we should have checked it first before we bent the back wires. And then we take this top wire and we just put a bend in it. But bring it back because when the wires wrap around the top, if we're going to wrap all wires around these wires here, we just want like a kink at the bottom there. It just helps hold everything in place for now, but all the wire detail on the front will hold it all in place properly. Do the same on this side too. Twist it in and then twist it back again a bit further up. And that's what we have so far. I'll put a little gap in your side wires. Just so it grips the stone a bit better, and then holding it all in place and your stones down, give the top a little squeeze just to hold it all in place. Just slide that top weave down if it's risen a little bit. So we're going to work across the back two wires now. So we've got back two, we've got 3 on this side, which I'm going to bend over and out the way, and we've got 3 on this side, bend over and out the way, and we're going to weave across the back 2 wires. So we've already got the 3 wraps around the back wire, so we go around both wires, come up between, then we wrap around the top wire and we wrap it around the bottom wire, and that's how we repeat. So you go around 2 wires, come up in between, once around the top, once around the bottom wire, and that's 2 repeats. So we're going to keep repeating that weave. So I'm just going to quickly take this opportunity to say, please make sure me, Kelly Jones Design. Please don't show in progress images or pictures of the back, as it gives the design away. And I want people to come here and learn how to do it from me on YouTube. So thanks everybody who does mention me. I really appreciate you guys, and if you haven't subscribed and you want to see more free tutorials, please subscribe, hit that button and all that. Thanks everybody. So keep sliding your weave along as you go, so you're compressing it all together. And I've done about 2 centimetres of that weave. And we'll finish with a few wraps around one of the wires to hold that in place. So if you have bail pliers, you can now wrap that top little weave around bail pliers. If you don't, you can just use your fingers. So bend the weave forwards, and then very carefully, if you do little slow movements, you shouldn't make any big mistakes. We're going to go around and take this over to the back. As we get to the back, I'm going to bend those wires out a little bit. So you have a little bail there for attaching your chain to, or what have you. So as the wires meet there at the back, we're going to now take this weaving wire. I'm going to open these wires up a little bit to try and keep it central. We're going to take this weaving wire around the whole thing. A few times. And then, because that'll hold it down, I'm going to finish with 3 wraps around one of these wires, and you just got to just pull it firmly so it's all nice and tight in place. So then we can cut that wire there. Just need to make sure it's straight. It's a lot straighter if you use bail pliers. That's what we have so far. So now we just need to straighten these wires back up so we can see what we've got. So we've got 3 on one side, 3 on the other. So I think I'm going to have the front wires in the middle. So here's our 3 on this side, and then this next one I'm going to pull over to this side. So now I've got 4 on one side and 2 on the other. So we're going to start with this second wire in. We're going to do a curl on the top. So I'm bending it over to the left. And then when it gets to here, I'm going to bend it around again. And when it gets to here, I'm going to add a bead. You want your largest bead. So I want the 3mm one. And then hold your bead. I'm going to take the wire around the bead. I just want the bead curl to sit a little further over than that. So I've pushed it over a little bit. So we've gone around, then popped the bead on and gone around again. So now if you look at this single wire on its own over here and take your weaving wire, so we're going to just add coils to this wire. So just go around and around that wire. So I've added coils to that wire. We might have to add more or take some off. So I've done about 2.5 centimetres there. I'm going to cut the tail end off now because it's always a bit tricky to get to. And then we're going to slide it all the way down. If you're using square wire, you could always put twists in this wire to make it look a little different. As for if you're following a tutorial that's using square wire and you're using round, you can then add coils when they do the twists just to add that bit of texture. So this one bent around to follow the shape of the first wire, and I've let it sit just above, so we've got a nice little gap there. And my coils have come to there. I want them to come to here so I can attach, so I'm just going to add a few onto there, a few more coils. So I've added a few more coils, and you have to remember to keep sliding them along. And then I'm going to wrap a couple of times around both the wires just to bring them together a little bit there. Then I'm going to continue to add coils to the bottom wire. So I've added a few coils to that, and I'm going to leave these 2 wires for now, and we're just going to finish off all these other wires, and then we can finish off these 2. So looking at this one here, push it that way a little bit to start with, and then I'm going to scoop it over in this direction so it goes around to this side. And then I'm going to take that wire and post it through there. I don't want these 2 to get in the way. I'm going to try and hold the shape at the top so I don't misshape it too much. I'm going to take this wire through there so it goes around all those side wires. And now I'm going to try and get the shape back. Taking it around again. As I said earlier, this is much easier if you're doing it in copper. Punishing myself, keep doing it in silver for a tutorial. So I'm going to wriggle that through so it's nice and tight. Try and catch that weaving wire. So these now, on this side, the three on this side, take the first one and we're going to curve that around. To come to there. And then the next one, we're going to curve that one around too, so I'm going to let it fall a bit lower. Shape that to come around too. And then those two wires need to go through that gap as well and wrap around those side wires. So we take those, I'm holding them at the top to try not to misshape them too much. And I'm bending the bottoms of the wire more. A bit long these wires are. Post them through to the back. Easier said than done. It might be easier if you do one at a time, or it should be easier if you're using copper. So now you have to reshape your wires. So this one, is that right? Yeah, this one's that one. So that one needs to come around. Like that. To sit quite high. All these wires are so springy. And then the next one, need to reshape that one to come around to sit just below. We want that one to be smaller, so we need to pull more through of that one. So when you're happy with the shape, these two wires need to go around again to hold it in place. Definitely using copper for my next tutorial. So pull it all the way around and get it nice and tight. And we can cut that one. And then this one has got to go around as well, really. It's because we don't want those wires moving. Pull them round nice and tight. So that's what we have so far on the top there. Now this last wire is again going to come around. Well, it's going to go to the front. I'm going to pull it down and it's going to go here. So it kind of sits very similar to the last wire that we did. And it's going to go around here as the others did. So pull it through and then you've got to wriggle it until you get the shape that you originally had. So now that wire that's just gone around, I'm not going to take it back around, I'm going to send it over there. And you really can do whatever you like with this last wire. I'm just going to make a little loop and then send the wire back around from the back to the front. Oh, this silver is very springy. So I wriggled it around to go around those side wires. And then I'm going to finish it off with a little loop at the front there. I'm going to come back and have a look at that in a minute. So these two here, I want to cut those off now, because otherwise we'll have too much going on. So I like to have a little bit of wire for wire handling, especially when the wire is as tough as this, but there is a bit too much here, so I'll say at the beginning to reduce your wire lengths. And then these, just finish off by squeezing them around those side wires. So this wire here is getting on my nerves, so I'm going to cut it off. And I'm going to curl that up into a little curl. I've done quite a lazy looking curl. I'm going to tie it onto there with a bit of weaving wire just to hold it in place. So I've wrapped 3 times around this wire, 3 times around both wires, and then I'm going to go 3 times around this wire. And I did that with just a little tiny bit of weaving wire that I cut off with about 6 inches, 15 centimetres. So I'm just wrapping another couple of times around here and then I shall cut it. That'll hold that curl down so it won't catch on anything. I'll cut the weaving wire at both ends now. So now going back to that coil wire, we're just going to keep adding a few more coils onto there. Keep pressing them along, keep sliding them along. And then this coil wire is going to go to the back. And the bare wire comes to the front. So now the bare wire is going to do a little curl. And as it's curling around, you want to find your second largest bead. So mine's 2.5 centimetres. Pop that on there. Okay, so I'll find my bead. I've popped it on there. And then we're going to send this wire around. So we're just doing a little loop. We've got the bead in the middle there. So then your coiled wire now sits on the outside of that wire. And there I'm going to join those two again with 2 more wraps. So then this wire now needs to come around like that. To hold this in place, we need to tie it down, but we're still going to need quite a bit of wire. So we're going to cut this weaving wire, and I'll just measure it. So you need to leave a bit of length on there. Mine is about 20 inches that I've still got attached there. And I'm just going to take the weaving wire around so it attaches to these. I could do with just going around the front wire. Just so it holds it there. I think I'm going to go around again. So we have our little joins there. And now I'm going to keep adding coils to that same wire that had the coils on before. So I've added all those coils. And now I'm going to take this coiled wire. I think my coil might overlap there. I've fixed it. So I'm going to take this now coiled wire around the back. I'm going to push it over so the coiled wire does a little loop, and you have to keep sliding the coils along to keep them tidy. Like that. So then when you get to this point, the coiled wire is going to come over the front of the bare wire. So where it crosses over there, we need to go around the 2 wires so that is held in place. Go around a couple of times and then continue adding coils to the same wire, which is now at the front. Quite a long one, isn't it, this one? Quite a long tutorial this week. So now the bare wire that was at the back now curls this way, and as it goes around, we're going to pop another bead on. So you want your smallest one. Mine is 2 millimeters. It's like a little seed bead. When you're buying beads this small especially, you need to make sure that the hole is big enough for your wire to fit on. I think I bought my silver beads from Rio Grande, I think it's pronounced. So then this one comes around like that. So now where these 2 wires meet, we're going to go around the both of them again, keep joining them together, and then I'm going to continue to keep adding coils to that one wire. And you can do whatever you want with these wires. You can follow me if you want to, if you like what I've done, or you can just bend them and shape them however you like. So this bare wire here, I'm going to finish that wire there. If I tell you to use shorter wires, you're going to run out of wire for this bit. So I'll have to leave that as is. So we're going to put a curl in this wire, and this one is going to go the other way. It's going to follow that one to start with, but it's going to curl the other way. So I need to add more coils to it. If you've got the time to just sit and do these coils so they're all really nice, it actually feels quite therapeutic, quite a break from your busy life. You can just sit and coil wires for a bit. So I'm going to bend that one around. So that's going to curl that way, and this is going to curl this way. And as it gets to here, I'm going to secure it to that front wire there so that it doesn't catch on anything or escape later. So I went around the two wires a couple of times, as you can see there. And then I went a few times around that single wire. And that's the end of our coiling. We can cut that wire now. Flatten down that sharp bit. I do keep trying to put my tools onto that towel, but I keep forgetting. So we can cut these now. This one's going to curl this way. And this one is going to curl this way. So I've decided I'm going to curl this wire too. So we put it over the front. And we're just going to curl that around. So I can cut that wire. Curl that one too. So when you're curling your wires, or how I do it, you grab the end of the wire and you bend that first. I'm holding the rest of it in place so I don't pull it out too much. So I've curled the end of the wire, and then I just twist the whole thing in. Press it against the piece and you've got yourself a little curl. If like this bottom curl here, that curl's quite open, where it is it's fine, but it can snag on things. So if you're doing a curl down here that's quite exposed, you must make sure that you close the curl so it doesn't catch on anything. But this one here needs to be nice and tight. And then there's just that one at the top. So I've done all my curls now, and that's the front more or less done. If you want to oxidise it, of course, you'd have to do that as well, but you could add a lot of detail when you've got so many bits of wire and stuff to oxidise. Could look quite nice. But at the back here, you'll make sure your bail's straight. I'm going to take these two wires and I'm going to join them on there, and then I'm just going to curl them there, just to add a little bit of extra support to the stone at the back. It shouldn't come out, but I'm going to do that just in case. So take a little bit of weaving wire. This is an offcut. Go around your single wire. Then we go around that little knuckle a few times, and then around the single wire to attach. Cut the weaving wire at both ends, and then take another piece of weaving wire, just a little bit. Do the same with the other wire on the other side. So I've attached both the back wires. I'm just going to finish them off in little tight curls, very little. So please don't show the back when you're sharing images online, as it does give the design away, and I want people to come here to YouTube and watch this video to see how it's done. And there we have it. Well, I hope you found this tutorial easy to follow and I wasn't out of focus for too much of it. There we have it, another finished one. I might oxidise it, I'm not sure. So thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Bye!